Imagine this. Towering stone castles, symbols of power and protection, standing proud against snow-filled skies. Yet inside them, people were slowly freezing. Here's the paradox that hooks us right away. Medieval castles were built to keep enemies out, not the cold. And in winter, the cold was often the deadliest invader of all. You'd think thick stone walls meant warmth, right? But imagine touching bare stone at dawn in January, your breath fogging the air inside your own bedroom, ice forming on the inside of windows, if there even were windows. Chroniclers whispered of ink freezing in inkwells, of nobles sleeping in hats and gloves, of servants who never woke up after especially brutal nights. How did entire households survive months like this, year after year, with no central heating, no insulation, no modern clothing? And more importantly, why did they choose to live this way at all? This is the brutal truth of surviving freezing winters in medieval castles. A story of suffering, ingenuity, and forgotten survival knowledge that still matters today. To understand the winter nightmare, you have to step back into the medieval climate itself. Europe between the 9th and 15th centuries was colder than many people imagine, especially during the later Little Ice Age, when winters dragged on and summers shrank. Castles were often built on hilltops or exposed ridges for defence, meaning they caught every biting wind. Inside, rooms were vast, ceilings high and corridors endless, great for controlling armies, terrible for retaining heat. Glass was rare and expensive, so windows were narrow slits, sometimes covered with cloth or wooden shutters, letting cold air seep in constantly. Floors were stone, walls were damp, and moisture froze overnight, turning chambers into refrigerators. Even kings and queens suffered. Royal letters complain about numb fingers, cracked skin, and constant illness. Peasants in wooden houses could at least huddle around a hearth, but castle residents lived in a paradox of wealth and misery. Powerful enough to command armies, yet unable to stay warm without extreme effort. So how did they endure it? This is where medieval ingenuity quietly steps in. First, fire, but not the way we imagine it. Fireplaces were massive, inefficient, and smoked heavily, so castles relied on constant tending, day and night. You know how one candle can warm your hands just a little. Now imagine dozens of fires scattered strategically through a fortress, placed not to heat entire rooms, but to create survivable microclimates. Then there were tapestries, thick, heavy woolen wall hangings that weren't just decoration but insulation, trapping air and blocking icy drafts from stone walls. Floors were covered in rushes and straw, sometimes layered with herbs, creating a crude but effective thermal barrier. Clothing was another secret. Multiple layers of wool and fur, even indoors, acting like wearable insulation systems. Beds were survival devices too. Wooden frames lifted sleepers off frozen floors, packed with straw or feathers, enclosed by heavy curtains to trap body heat. Everything worked together in a fragile balance, discovered through centuries of trial, error and loss. Knowledge born not from comfort, but desperation. What's striking is how relevant these ideas still are. Strip away electricity and central heating today, and many modern homes would fail faster than a medieval hall. The castle teaches us something uncomfortable. Survival isn't about luxury, it's about layered systems. Insulation matters more than raw heat. Small, enclosed spaces warm faster than large open ones. Clothing can be more efficient than heating empty air. Even today, Emergency shelters, off-grid cabins, and cold-weather survival strategies echo medieval logic. Zone heating, thermal layering, wind blocking, and heat retention. Imagine applying this mindset during winter power outages, camping in extreme cold, or designing sustainable housing. The medieval world reminds us that resilience comes from understanding your environment deeply, not fighting it blindly. Their suffering carved out lessons we've mostly forgotten because comfort made us complacent. In the end, surviving freezing winters in medieval castles wasn't heroic or romantic. It was relentless, exhausting, and often deadly. Stone walls did not mean safety from nature, only from human enemies. Yet within that brutal reality, people adapted, innovated, and endured using knowledge passed quietly from generation to generation. Today, as climates grow more extreme and energy systems feel less certain, those forgotten lessons whisper back to us through frozen stone corridors. Warmth is never guaranteed. Survival is always learned. And sometimes the past isn't a distant world, it's a warning and a guide. If this hidden history surprised you, if it changed how you see castles, comfort, or cold itself, stay curious, share the story, and keep exploring the truths buried beneath the stone.